This is Leafs Morning Take with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill.
Now we've got a fight started here right off the bat with Rosehill.
30 minutes of live, nonstop Leafs talk starts now.
What is good? It's the calm before the storm in Leafs Nation as we all await the first move by Brad Treliving. Presented by Botano. It's the Thursday edition of Leafs Morning Take. Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with you. What's up, Rosie? How are you, buddy?
Good, buddy. Enjoying the weather. And we banged off our JVR interview this morning, which went smoothly and sweetly. So I'm feeling good, buddy.
Yep, so that is the feature presentation on today's show. Former Toronto Maple Leaf James Riemsdyk. And the interesting thing about him, he signed 3 contracts in his NHL career, all with the Philadelphia Flyers. Of course, he was dealt 1-for-1 with a frequent guest on this show, Luke Shen. We asked him about that. But yeah, JVR is hitting free agency for the second time in his career, and it just doesn't sound like he's going back to Philadelphia.
Yeah, I doubt he'd want to right now with the year or two that has gone on around there. And, you know, that guy's never signed a contract with anyone but the Philadelphia Flyers, which is insane as he's approaching 1,000 games. I don't know if there's many guys that can say that have played for multiple teams, but have only signed with one team. And it's just kind of a different vibe with him. But I have a feeling he'll be in a different uniform this year, and it'll be fun to watch where he goes.
I'm just more curious to see who he gets as a head coach. Of course, he's got Randy Carlyle in his career. He's got Mike Babcock. He's got John Tortorella. Like, the list goes on and on, my man.
He could use a player's coach here one of these years. Jesus Christ.
Imagine at the ripe age of 34, he gets a player's coach and just rips it up. He doesn't have to deal with the pressure anymore, no?
It depends how you react to it. He's old enough where he's probably had that his whole year, but there's a big difference playing with a guy that handles the team differently. And he mentioned the phrase, it's a two-way street now, where before it's just a one-way street. Do what I say or I'll bury you. And nowadays it's kind of like, hey, what do you think and what do you need? What do you guys see? You know, you talk and, you know, we're going this direction. And it's a little bit more coaching going on. It's a little bit more coddling. I don't always like it. That is for sure. But a happy medium is always probably what's necessary. And he's only had the one side of things, which is hardcore me first coaches.
It's definitely a different age of an NHL player. And of course, you can speak to that having played in the National Hockey League. Remember to subscribe, tap that like button, leave us a review wherever you're checking us out at the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube, at the Leafs Nation 401 on YouTube. Before we proceed, got to thank everybody as well, Rosie. 3,000 subscribers yesterday. I didn't think we'd get to 50.
That's what I hear. $3,000. That's pretty good, man. You know, no reason not to keep this thing going. We are going to tee it up for another year, obviously, hopefully many, many years to come. But I would say a successful first year. We got our feet under us, and judging by our chat the last few weeks, this thing's rolling and we got some support, which is always the best. So thanks to everyone out there that likes to watch.
Could only wonder what our number would be at if we didn't curse, man. Like, would it be at 6,000, 8,000, 10,000 if I didn't say fuck every third word? It's too bad.
I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. You can't make everyone happy. I think in this day and age, the cursing is, you know, when necessary, it is useful, and it's not 1956 anymore. But we got an email there from a guy who just said it absolutely has to stop, and he likes listening to podcasts, and he used to listen to his radio on his ham radio, and you know, things have changed, and you know, like it or not, the people of this generation curse a little bit more. They think it's just a word. It doesn't hurt anything. It's just a made up word. So I don't think we're going to be stopped swearing anytime soon, nonetheless.
Yeah, our apologies if we've offended anybody in the chat or watching or listening to our YouTube show. Our apologies, but we're just simply not going to change. This is why we bring you this show to begin with. We love the Leafs. We love covering the NHL.
We have to tiptoe around the younger generation of not offending them, and now we got to tiptoe around the older generation, not offend them. It's just a tiptoe show.
In essence, we're absolutely fucked. Anyways, don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com for the very latest in all things Toronto Maple Leafs. Thoughts, comments, questions, or concerns, drop us a line in the chat down below here on YouTube, and we'll get to them a bit later on the show. Again, JVR is coming up in about 10 minutes from now. But for now, let's get over the boards. By the way, we did confirm that was another disappointing factor on social the last couple months. The over the boards graphic, that's going to change. I know some people were pissed off about that as well, Rosie.
Oh, big reason to be pissed off, man. I mean, it could ruin your day.
I know. It's like, damn, I just want to wake up and listen and watch a Leaf-centric show, talk about who's getting traded. They have a shitty graphic. I'm not watching anymore.
Yeah, well, we've had our little meeting about next year, and apparently we're gonna get some new graphic design, some new sights and sounds, some new lighting. Who knows what this thing can look like? It might look like the studio of a big corporate broadcasting company come October.
Hey, who knows? Maybe even get a new co-host for next season. People would love
That
that,
would be
right?
nice, but I'm
Yeah.
not gonna hold my breath.
That's fair. You know who's not going to hold his breath? Alexander Mogilny, man. Yet again, this guy not entering the Hockey Hall of Fame. They announced their class yesterday. And I hate the announcement day for a variety of reasons. Among them is the burial of guys who actually get in. Like if you notice on social media, all the consternation, all the annoyance is like, how did that guy get in? How did that girl get in? And it sort of buries them. And it has nothing to do with these people. And talking about yesterday, of course, Henrik Lundqvist, we all knew that was coming. Tom Barrasso played 4 games for the Toronto Maple Leafs, if you remember that. Mike Vernon, Carolyn Willette, Ken Hitchcock's going in, Pierre Lacroix as well, 2 builders there. But again, the big story on social media, not to the extent was Curtis Joseph, of course, a former Toronto Maple Leaf, but Alexander Mogilny not getting in yet again.
Almo. Yeah, I mean,
He was sick, man.
It's a tough job. There's a lot. Like, did he win a cup?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I know. Well, it's tough, man. I mean, I like Mike Vernon. I mean, he's a pretty legendary goalie. He seems to have like two personas, like the old school Flames. They won their cup in '89, the first one for that city. He was their goaltender. If that's not kind of enough, having that, then he goes on to Detroit. It just seems like, I guess he changed his mask and he doesn't look so old school is basically what it was. Wins another cup with them, was involved in, those huge rivalries and whatnot. I think he's a no-brainer. And if you're the guys running the show at the Hall, it's tough, man. You can't just let everyone in at once. And like some people have got to wait a long time. And, if the people that got snubbed this year, well, wait a couple of years. Look at the guys who get in who have been waiting for 20 years. I mean, it is what it is. And not an easy job. And there's not a strict parameter of this is what gets you into the Hall of Fame. It's kind of it's just kind of an accolade based on a general idea of your career. So there's going to be guys that are left out for years at a time, but hopefully everyone who's deserving does get in.
Just to confirm, I forgot about this. Alexander Mogilny won the Stanley Cup with New Jersey in 2000, played 18 years, of course, in the NHL. And it's just easy to forget considering how long it's been. But you can't help but wonder what Alex Mogilny needs to do. I mean, when you compare Almo to other players who have gotten into the Hockey Hall of Fame, it's pretty black and white. Like the guy deserves to be there right away. I mean, my first wonder was like the guy's Russian. We all know what's going on with Russia right now. I know people are trying to find answers, but I think that's part and parcel why the last couple of years there really hasn't been much consideration for Alexander Mogilny. Maybe I'm completely wrong and off track in saying that, but again, when you compare this guy to other players who are getting in, it just seems pretty simple that Alexander Mogilny deserves to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame, Rose. Maybe I'm looking at it too wrong.
No, I don't think so. I mean, if he deserves to get in, then he will get in. And if it does have something to do with the public relation optics of it during a war going on, he's Russian, as if he has anything to do with that. But maybe that has something to do with it. But at the end of the day, if we look back in 8 years and he gets in 2 years, and we'll be like, remember 6 years ago when Amo got in and he should have been in 2 years before? It's like, whoop-de-doo, man. It is what it is. And again, tough job. I wouldn't want to do it. There's got to be some bias going on. There's got to be some push and pull. Who knows what it's like? But at the end of the day, you'd think he's going to get in. And some guys got to wait longer than others. Simple as that. I mean, Henrik Lundqvist, unbelievable goaltender. He didn't win a Stanley Cup. And no one's talking about that. There's a lot of push and pull. And it comes down to what guys remember and what they did and who has to wait longer than others. At the end of the day, I think he will get in and time will probably be on his side.
Lots of great conversation in the chat. I know we'll get to that later on, but T-Dot writes in 76 goals is pretty good. I tend to agree with that. A lot of people saying he'd put Mogilny in before Curtis Joseph, of course, very goaltender heavy. He won with the Devils, of course, Reether saying in 2000, as we just mentioned. Like there's a lot of reasons why nationally Alexander Mogilny did some great things, but I just remember such a slick player with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like if you date back to like the Pat Quinn era, man, like it was kind of like those pinch me moments. You're like, holy crap, Alexander Mogilny is a Toronto Maple Leaf. And then when he was a Leaf, like he did some good things and he was a part of really good teams.
Yeah, he was. I mean, I picture him in a Devils uniform, and I do remember him coming to the Leafs. He's spread out more than you would think. And
yeah,
my first question was, did he win a cup? And I couldn't quite remember. Like, I don't have a picture in my mind of him raising that thing and them talking about him. And maybe that is because it was the era where they weren't stroking the Russians as hard and whatever else went with all of that. But for some reason, he tends to fly under the radar for sure. And, you know, after pulling up some stats and looking at that he did win a cup and XYZ, you start to wonder, okay, this guy probably should get in, and might be, again, one of those guys that just has to wait a few more years than other people think. But, you know, I'd like to go all-time snubs, a guy that could have been in 20 years ago. And I'd like to see that list of guys that just might never get in and certainly should. That'd be an interesting list to go through.
It would be. But again, shout out to Alexander Mogilny. We love him here on this podcast. Who knows? Maybe one day we get Almo on.
Let's get him on.
Yeah, that'd be great. Northern Ale, a good wrap to this. The Sundin era. What a time. I couldn't agree more. Speaking of a time, it has been a while, Rosie, but I've summoned this award-winning segment. I think it's going to win an award at some point in time. Rosie tweets. So it's pretty simple. Jay Rosehill's been on fire on social media since starting this endeavor back in October. So what I do is I pick some of his tweets, we put them on the screen, and we ask him what his headspace was. So let's play the first one here, Aaron.
I don't like this. Oh, yeah. What's it say?
So I don't know. We can't even zoom in on this new program. But nonetheless, that's you and Luke Shen with the Stanley Cup. Did you go to both of his cup parties, by the way?
No, just the one, and I missed Braden's too, so I had to go to Lukey's. I mean, these guys were just rattling cups off pretty quick there, so definitely had to jump on a plane, go to Lukey's, and I think I said sometimes you just got to ride the coattails of other people's achievements.
You're riding me, so you're riding me.
That's true. Yeah. I was just like, I'm not going to win this thing. So funny story, though. You're not supposed to – well, it depends like what the deal is. There's the keepers of the cup that are there. You got to ask to lift it above your head. And usually they don't want people lifting it up if you haven't played for the cup. And sometimes there's little rules and they can be bent and whatnot. But nonetheless, they said, absolutely, if Luke says you can hold it up, you can hold it up. Don't put it on social media, anything like that, as far as me hoisting it myself. And don't do it in public. So I did that. Cool. And then at the party that night, there was a photographer there, and I'm like, screw this, man. I need to have a picture of me hoisting the cup. So I yelled at the photographer. I'm like, hey, over here. And I just went and grabbed it off a table and just hoisted it up and kissed it. And then there's another picture of the keeper of the cup going like this in my face going, I told you, Rosie, I told you not in public. And I'm like, sorry, but I had to do it. What the hell? But that thing is unfriggin' believable, that trophy. I sat there for like an hour looking at all the different inscriptions, the dents. Oh, this dent is from Mario Lemieux's swimming pool. Oh, look at the 33 Quebec it was Ottawa Senators. The O is spelled with a Q. There's all these bugger ups on the cup, like mess ups with the engraving or with the spelling. It's hilarious, and it just gives it even more character. I absolutely loved my time doing that with Shannon.
Dude, you know what's crazy is like I was really superstitious to a degree. Like I told you, I played baseball growing up. Like I wouldn't step on the line, shit like that. So I've seen the Stanley Cup a variety of different times. I won't touch it, man. I don't know why I won't touch it. Like I'll look at it and be like, this has no impact on, I don't even have, like it's got no impact on what happens in life, but I still won't touch it. It's so weird.
Well, the dream's still alive for you. I mean, you go to those Sunday skates.
You're right.
I mean, there might be a scout in the stands with a contract in his pocket. You never know, and that's why you do it.
Dude, I did the sickest thing of all time, and sick not being good. So back in my teens, my final year of high school, I played like house league hockey. It was like the shittiest league you'll find. But anyways, had a really good year. Probably shouldn't have been in that league. Should have been in a higher league. Ended up winning the championship, and they hand me the trophy. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, what can I do that's different than other people? Dude, I licked this trophy. It was like a mini cup. I licked it. It was the most disgusting thing I've ever done in my life. And I just think back of it. I'm like, I'm surprised I'm still alive.
Even more reason why I need a new host.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's you wonder why I'm the way I am. And I talked to you in October and being like, these games don't matter. That's why I'm like that.
I need to see a picture of you playing rec hockey, and I need to see your style out there. Your
dude,
gear.
I sent you videos of me sniping.
Did you?
Yeah,
I think it was a blurry security cam footage
but
of it that you begged the rink staff to give you.
I play ice sports here in the Toronto area, and they have they set up cameras during the pandemic for people to watch their kids, and now you can pay for this stream. So I obviously have a background in social media and editing and all that stuff. So I make highlight tapes for my buddies on my team, and they go crazy. My goalie is some French guy, and he just gets lit up sometimes, and I put videos out in the chat of him getting lit up with the Habs goal horn. It's the funniest thing ever.
And you think you're too busy doing this show? It sounds like you got a lot of time on your hands. Buddy.
A lot of time on my hands, dedicated to the sport. That is for sure. We have a second tweet, first and foremost, before we get to JVR. So let's put that on the screen, Aaron.
What is this?
Who's going to with this U.S. Open? So I believe you're trying to say win, but you were big on Rory, right?
Oh, I am just so used to autocorrect. You type what you need to type, and I like tweeting when I have a couple dranky poos in me too. But man, I'm actually good at language arts and spelling and stuff, and Twitter just throws me for an absolute loop. But yeah, the U.S. Open, so disappointing. Congrats on the win and everything with Wyndham Clark, but you got Ricky up there, you got Rory. Some history is going to be made. It's going to be one to remember, and instead, none of them get it done. Especially Rory, man, you're right there. You're one of the best in the world. Get it done. It's been 10 years. Doesn't get it done. I was very, very disappointed. And when I tweeted that, I think there was quite a few people out there that were on the same page, but it did not go. Congrats to Wyndham Clark, though.
What's your handicap?
At golf, I'm a 2 right now.
Not bad, not bad. And who's the best player you've played with in the hockey world, a golfer?
Me and Braden Shen had a pretty good battle there in Kelowna last year. Neither of us knew the other one was pretty decent. We should have put some money down. I was going to actually say, do you want to play for some cash? But I think I snubbed him by a shot or so that day, but he can play golf. And thing is, I put in more time. I practice. I work on it. I absolutely love the game, and I don't think he does it all. And he's just naturally can just shoot slow 70s on a mountain course. So it was all good, but that's a game that'll come up and bite you in the ass at any point in time. So I never get too confident with it.
I have zero patience when it comes to golf. I haven't golfed in a long, long time. I'll go to Top Golf and shit like that. But back in high school, again, I worked at a golf course, and my buddy was my boss, and I would ride the picker and just hack darts and chew tobacco. It was the dream job, dude. And then the next summer, he's like, dude, you ain't coming back because you do fuck all. And I'm like, you're so right. All I did was set up the pyramids on the driving range, and I would drive the pros out because it was a really legitimate course, Rattlesnake. I think the Leafs used to do the tournament there.
Sounds like a nice track.
Yeah, I would just drive the pros out, and they'd tip me and stuff. It was the best summer job as a college student, but nonetheless, I digress. Let's get to today's feature presentation. It is James Van Riemsdyk. Enjoy. I believe that July 1st will mark 5 years since today's guest signed with the Philadelphia Flyers for his second tour of duty in the city of brotherly love. Before that, he spent 6 seasons as a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs, just narrowly missing the Jay Rosehill era, and lucky for him. Well, today it all comes full circle. Welcome to Leafs Morning Take, JVR, James Van Riemsdyk. What's up, buddy? How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, guys. I think I barely missed you in Toronto and then barely in Philly too. So
I know it was
pass a couple times.
It was like you're avoiding me at all costs, is what it seemed like. I got lots of buddies that played with you, though, man. I was talking to Nasty on the Flyers the other day. Lots going on. Lukey wants to know how you feel about that trade 1-for-1 there years later after you went for Luke Shen straight across.
Yeah, that was wild. I think I was kind of expecting to get moved. And obviously, I've been pretty close playing with Braden there in Philly. And then to get moved for his brother, it was kind of that bittersweet thing. I'm a little bit, for me, with some of the close buddies I had to leave. But obviously happy for those guys to get to play together. And loved my time of getting a chance to come play in Toronto. So I'd say it worked out well for both of us.
Can you believe it's been 5 years, though, man? It's crazy. I was just doing a bit of background and legwork, and obviously I remember your time as a Leaf, but I couldn't believe it's been 5 years. You signed a 5-year contract with them, right?
Yep. Yeah, 5 years. It's definitely flown by. I mean, it's crazy. I feel like the more time you play, the faster the years seem to go by. So it definitely seems like just yesterday I was making my decision and trying to figure all these things out. And here we are. And now that onto the next stage of my career.
Yeah, time's flying. You looks like you're going to peg off 1,000 games here this season. What's you think you'd get to that? It looks like it happened quicker than you think, you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's obviously a nice milestone to hit. I think it just kind of shows your dedication to the game, things like that, the longevity you're able to create. And again, I'm someone who kind of loves to really try to adapt my game and work on different things to really make sure that those things don't happen by accident. So I'm always trying to tinker with different things to get the most out of myself. And yeah, definitely feel good for having that amount of games under my belt, and yeah, excited for the next stage and what'll happen next.
Here's a good question for you. Who has the tougher media, Toronto or Philadelphia? Rosie, you can chime in too.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I would say the sheer volume in Toronto definitely is the difference. But I remember particularly in my first stint in Philly, there was a good amount of I don't know if controversy is the right word, but there was just some things that the pot would get stirred quite a bit, you could say. So there was some of that, but yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a little bit different. There is a little bit of that bite in Philadelphia for sure, but obviously there's a lot of sheer numbers covering the Leafs, so it's just a little bit different in that way.
Mm-hmm. Of course, two big markets, no question. And now you're a free man. You can go to anywhere you want to go. What's it look like for you moving forward? What are you looking to get? What kind of as far as, you know, city, atmosphere, team, all the rest of it? You're haven't been a free agent in a little while now.
Yeah, you know what, I think just going into it, the two most important things are, again, finding a good fit. Obviously, a team that feels like they need what you bring to the table and has a place for you to be able to contribute. And then ultimately, again, at this stage of my career, it's being in a situation with a chance to win, hopefully. I mean, I've had a taste of being close my first year in the league, and it seems crazy that it was like 14 years ago now. So, yeah, those are two things that will be huge as far as trying to figure things out as free agency comes here shortly.
And the unique thing about you've signed, 3 contracts in the NHL, and they're all with Philadelphia, right?
All with Philadelphia. So I don't know if there's like a sign and trade again in my future here or what's going to happen. But yeah, no, they've all been with Philly. So that's kind of unique. I think David Perron had a run of that for a while too, where he signed like 4 or 5 deals with all with St. Louis, but he ended up playing on a couple different teams, obviously. So.
No, it's pretty interesting, man. And it's, again, we reminisce on your times as a Maple Leaf. You played with Phil Kessel. What was it like to see Kessel win yet another cup? That's 3 in his career now.
Yeah, you know what? It's amazing. I mean, I couldn't be happier for him. I feel like maybe now I feel like people understand him better, but I feel like at times he was fairly misunderstood. But just a great guy, great teammate. Just fun to be around, funny to be around more so. I mean, just his voice, some of his antics, and some of his comments are just classic. So yeah, I was happy to see him get another one there.
Too funny. Well, with the coaching staff you've had in the last few years too, with Tortorella, and you've had Babcock before that, 2 of the more hard-nosed coaches for sure. I know Tort's a little bit from back in the day, and obviously a hard-nosed guy, but I always thought he was fair. What have you noticed in your career as far as the coaching styles and how they've changed, how the players have changed, how that hard-nosed, you know, approach to coaching, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. The new kids are a lot different to coach, and having those two, you know, they'd stand out as the most hard-nosed coaches in the last few years. What was your experience with them?
Yeah, I think you said it. I've definitely noticed an adjustment from when I came into now. I think it's just mostly on just like how things are communicated and communication style, and there's probably a little bit more of a two-way street nowadays, which I think is good and healthy to have those things. But yeah, just speaking as far as playing for Torts this past year, I had an experience playing for him at the World Cup like 7 years ago. I think it was in like, or you know what, it was like 2016. So I had a little bit of experience with him there. Obviously, at a tournament like that, it's a little bit different probably than playing for under a full season. But yeah, I had a great experience overall playing for him. I think the longer you play, I think the more you appreciate kind of that directness and honesty that you can get. I mean, sometimes it can be good, bad, or ugly, depending on how things are going. But I think just having that piece of knowing where you stand is a good thing and what's expected of you. So I think that's one of his kind of strongest traits as far as just being blunt and fair. And again, the settings can change, whether it's maybe around the whole team or on the ice or on the bench, maybe one-on-one sometimes, but there's lots of different settings for that. But ultimately, I think just getting that feedback is a good thing, and I think it leads to less gray area, and then you kind of get over it, move on, and go from there.
Yeah, lots happening in Philadelphia right now. It goes without saying. Everybody's looking over their shoulder. They don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, with Danny Briere at the helm now as the GM there. I wanted to ask you about playing with rookie Austin Matthews, man. Like, that's such a cool part of your career, is some of the younger players that you played with at the beginning of this whole thing for the Maple Leafs.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, you see a few of those core guys, getting a chance to see them kind of come up and grow in their earlier years in Toronto. But speaking specifically to Austin, I remember it was like a pre-World Cup, like, skate with all the guys or whatever, and you could just tell right away that he was different than a lot of guys you'll see. Just kind of the creativity that he had and the skill level that he had, and it just seemed like whenever he went to go into a situation to get a puck back, whether it was a 50-50 or whatever it may be, he was always able to find a way to pull it out. It just seemed to stick to him at times. So yeah, he's obviously gotten off to a great start to his career, and he's someone who definitely loves the game, loves the grind of working on your craft and things like that. So he's someone that seems to always be looking for ways to get better.
For sure. You know, we mentioned how you played in a couple of big markets, James, and Toronto being probably the biggest for anybody. What is it about Toronto that you think, in your honest opinion, makes it difficult to win?
Yeah, I think, again, like there's just always something going on. I would feel like, as far as, again, like there's people talking about different things, and there's always kind of nothing can kind of fly under the radar, I would say. So there is whether you're a goal scorer and maybe you're going a few games without a goal, like you have to you're going to be hearing about that in a place like Toronto or whatever. So I think just being able to manage those highs and lows, especially in a place like that where there's going to be different things that come up, and it seems when you're in it, it seems like things can be the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. So really managing that is so important. But yeah, definitely there's that extra element of some of that attention and sometimes the pressure you may feel coming from that. I think for me personally, like, I love that atmosphere of that. I grew up a big Yankees fan and watching them and following them, and I feel like it's a similar comparison of playing for the Leafs, where you get that kind of it's not only just in the city, but everywhere you feel like is that Leaf Nation, and the following that you get is so huge. And there is a degree of, you can feel that sometimes. And I think that makes it a lot of fun, because again, when if you're able to get a chance to win in a place like that, like obviously we all know how special something like that would be. So I think there is the degree of pressure, but I think it's also that opportunity as far as how special it would be to be able to accomplish something there.
Yeah, personally, I feel that way when I venture out to King Street West on a Friday night, man. You just never know what's going to happen. As someone who was there at the beginning of this whole thing, as mentioned, do you follow this team at all anymore? Like, how stunned are you that they haven't been able to push through? Like, obviously, it's been pretty crazy to break it down the last couple of years. And obviously, they get past the first round this year, but ultimately can't get to that Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I think with having a few of the good buddies that I have that are still there, like again, you can't help but follow, see how they're doing, see how the team's doing and stuff like that. I mean, I think the margin for error, especially when you get to the playoffs, is just so small, and it's again, you just got to keep sticking with it as far as giving yourself a chance every year to be there. And sometimes the bounces go your way, and sometimes they don't. Ultimately, I feel like, again, just watching from afar, it seems like they're right there in a lot of these series, and I got a chance to advance this past year, so that was a step for them, which was obviously probably pretty exciting. But ultimately, again, everyone's judged on being able to make it all the way to the end. So it definitely never a dull moment as far as watching and hearing some of the feedback and stuff like that, as far as what could or should be done. So it definitely makes it entertaining in that way.
So being at the lake this summer, doing your summer routine, I gotta ask, do you have a training table out there or a masseuse? I hear you're like the Connor McDavid of getting treatment at the rink. So are you missing that this summer or what?
No, I've got my guys, a couple local guys, a couple guys that'll come in and just tune me up and things like that. But like I mentioned before, like I love what goes into trying to get better and maintain things, and want to play as long as I can. So I think at this stage and age, I feel really good. I feel like relative to what other guys were saying that were my age. So I think a lot of that goes into the routine that I've been able to create over the years, and definitely is something that has served me well so far. So yeah, it's that part of it is definitely fun for me.
Any interest in a Toronto reunion? The final question here.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I think ultimately you want to be in a place where you're wanted and stuff like that. Speaking just to my experience of being there last time, like it was amazing. It was unbelievable. Like something I'll always cherish, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, like going off of that was all great. Obviously, again, in different stages of your career and where you're at as a player, you want it to, again, most importantly, be a good fit as far as how the organization and coaching staff and how you'd fit in with all that stuff. So kind of we'll see what happens here in the next couple of weeks. But like I've always said, like my experience playing in Toronto is something I'll always cherish, and something I'll always look back on super fondly, and it was definitely something I really enjoyed.
Well, fantastic stuff, man. Again, I can't believe how long you've been in the league. I've been covering the league now for like 12 years. Like time just honestly flies, which is kind of scary. So enjoy this process. Obviously, it's got to be kind of exciting for your family over the next couple of weeks. We'll see what happens, and best of luck, man. Thanks for doing this.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Jay.
What an absolute stud. And of course, James Van Riemsdyk joining us here on the show. Best hands down low I can remember as a Leaf. Remember he'd go between the legs quite a bit.
Yeah, he was pretty dirty. Three in a row World Junior Championships kind of shot him off to his NHL career. And it's funny, I kept missing him because I just know so many guys that have played with him and love the guy. And he seems like a total beauty. And I just kept missing him and don't really know him very well. So it was good to interview him there. He seems like a solid dude. Yeah,
I've heard the same thing about JVR. I heard he's salt of the earth, great teammate, so everything checks out. And again, just the comp as well, being traded 1-for-1 for Luke Shen, which is just the cherry on top to the whole interview, and appreciative of Van Riemsdyk making time for us here on the show. The Betano wrap-up is presented by Betano.ca. The game starts now, 19+. Please play responsibly. Of course, recently named the 2023 EGR Brand of the Year. And Rosie, the chat on absolute fuego today, man. It's just been one of those days, a lot of conversation about the Hall of Fame. Of course, Alexander Mogilny. I even saw on Twitter, people had to correct me. Almo won a Stanley Cup in 2000. My apologies to all you Devils fans out there. But Gospel Testimony writes in, I got to watch a Kessel JVR Leaf game with my oldest when he was 5 or 6. They were fun to watch. Kessel scored in a breakaway. Those are the good old days of the Leafs. Like, I thought they deserved a better fate, man.
Yeah, I don't know, man. When we were there and they fired Wilson, James Reimer was on fire. They brought in Carlisle, and we went on fire the last few months of the season. And I think by our point total or something, or by the run we went on every other year for like 10 years, we would have been in the playoffs. But that year, our division just happened to go a little bit nuts as well, and everyone was racking up points, and we missed by a little bit. So that was super disappointing because I think they were dying for some playoff action around that era. But no, a good era for sure. But when you look back, everything looks good. Everything looks better back in the day. But at the time, we were taking a lot of heat. But they didn't use me properly, and that's why we didn't hang a banner.
Yeah, you should have been the first line winger. I think there's no doubt about that. They're using you sparingly on a fourth line with Colton Orr. I don't know what the objective of that line was, but it's pretty simple, I think.
You don't know? You don't know?
No.
Like you don't know?
I don't know what you're doing out there, man.
Wow, crashing and banging, causing some energy, buddy.
Who was the third guy on that line? I forget.
It was like Freddie Shoestrom.
Yeah,
Wayne Primo.
How about Ricard Wallin? Was he there?
Ricard Wallin was there.
Oh, my God. You
yeah,
got to get Ricky Wallin on the show, bud.
Ricard Wallin. Yeah, I don't know if he'd have much to say. He's a pretty quiet guy. Those Swedes. Solid guy, though.
Freddie Sjustrom was in that Dion Phaneuf trade.
Dackle was in there a little bit.
Yeah.
It's all over the place.
Dude, we got to pull some of these guys out of the woodwork next year. And that's our sell point. You were on a line with Jay Rosehill. You have to be on this show.
Well, they'd be scrambling to get on, no question. It would really boost their appearance level.
Yeah, no, I agree. And maybe they probably charge an appearance fee, quite frankly. But yeah, Fraser McLaren's another one. Did you play with him or was he after you?
No, he came in after me and took my number, and then I was mad about it, so I beat him up.
Did you fight him after?
Yeah.
Figured. That's all you need in the NHL world back in the glory days. Just, hey, you took my number, we're going, right?
Yeah, pretty much. He seemed like a good guy. I was mad afterwards. I should have been nicer, but solid dude. He served his purpose. He was a tough guy.
You both did, and I missed that line quite a bit. I just knew watching the Leafs, nobody was going to fuck around with that team. It's a bit different these days. We'll leave it at that, Rosie. Coming into Friday's edition tomorrow before next week, all the mayhem begins. A slight programming note. So I mentioned yesterday we'd have Elliot Friedman on Friday. He's been changed to Monday, which is actually better for this show. We can preview draft week next week with Elliot Friedman, who will be down in Nashville coming up on Monday. I'm making the trek down to Music City. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday will be live on location at Bar Louie. I believe you'll be with me Wednesday and Thursday. So looking forward to that and looking forward to some fireworks here from the Maple Leafs, Rosie.
Cool, man. Yeah, it'll be good. It will be good. Big draft day, big free agent frenzy as well. So looking forward to that week.
Northern Ale writes in a rap Justin Pogge. That's the one guy we need to get on this show. We will get him on this show maybe next season. Of course, just a couple weeks remaining in this program. So for Jay Rosehill, producer Aaron, many thanks again to James Van Riemsdyk for dropping by. Everybody in the chat, you're fantastic. We're at 3,000 subscribers and counting. So we appreciate you all here on the podcast and show. I'm Nick Alberga. Thanks so much for listening and watching. Talk tomorrow.